All right, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us here in the council chambers and at home on Zoom. Today we're here to talk about the green space at Southwest Andrew and Southwest Paul Revere Terrace. I'm Zach Sherman, Executive Project Manager with the Parks and Rec Department. Joining me are Carrie Wilbur, Christian Willems, Kelvin King Jr. I'm a little nervous. We have Nikki Zen out there in the audience. And we have the communications team, Maritza and Avi, and thanks to the officer who's here as well. Lastly, I want to thank Kyle Brooker from Sampson Tree Service. He's here tonight. He's an arborist, and he can answer any technical tree-related questions later on. We appreciate your interest in this topic tonight to talk about the green space near your home. Some of you we've already had a chance to meet out in the field when we were doing some outreach door-to-door visits. We're glad you got the letters, so that was fun talking to you out there. We value your input and questions, and your concerns are valuable to us. And today we are here to listen. As a department, we value protecting the green spaces in our city. These areas are important not only for people today, but for future generations as well. We know there's lots of development going on in the city, and it's important to keep as many natural spaces as possible where people can connect with nature close to where they live. So my team manages 4 city-owned green spaces, and this one here at Southwest Andrew and Southwest Paul Revere Terrace is one of them. Before we started talking about this particular green space, we toured several of the green spaces around the city, and we were very impressed with this one that we found. The site already has informal walking trails, which we thought was very cool, and it has fewer invasive species than most of the other green spaces that we manage. And one of the first steps that we take in maintaining these spaces is removing the invasive species and trying to keep only the native vegetation. Since this particular site is surrounded by homes, we were careful to consider how that might affect the neighbor's privacy. That's why we asked Kyle here to walk the site with us. So we personally went out there and walked through the entire woods to confirm what needed to be removed. Thankfully, the site seems to be in good shape, only needs minimal clearing to maintain its natural, dense appearance while preserving privacy for nearby residents. Now, beyond that, if there is interest from the neighborhood, we could consider adding small, low-impact features like some benches, picnic tables, or public art. About a year ago, the city was working with a consultant that did prepare some sample renderings for each of the green spaces that we manage, and they showed what a portion of a green space, like a 1/4 acre or a 1/2 acre, could look like if you did a little more development, like put in sidewalks and benches and public art and maybe a piece of fitness equipment. Now, we're not really talking about that here, but it is an option if all the residents in the area wanted something like that. That's something we could look at after we remove some of the invasives and try to keep this site as native and natural as possible. So overall, our goal is to protect these green spaces as natural sanctuaries while making them a little bit more accessible to people so that they're not just admired from the sidewalk, so that you can go into them and enjoy the experience firsthand. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Kelvin King Jr. He's the project lead for this site, and he's going to walk us through the space and highlight what types of vegetation might be removed as part of our cleanup efforts.
How's it going, guys? Appreciate you guys coming out. I know the weather's not so great right now, and everybody on Zoom, thank you guys for attending. So one thing I just want to reiterate is we don't plan on doing anything without you guys' input with these lots. We want to make this uniquely yours, whether that means keeping it specific to trails, small amenities. At the end of this PowerPoint, we'll actually have a survey for you guys to go through as well. That way we can get some additional input on what you guys think you want to see out there. So as you guys see, that's the site, Southwest Andrew Road, Southwest Paul Revere Terrace. There's actually already an entrance that's been kind of carved out on the north side of that lot. So there's already some trails out there, as you guys can see from the photo as well. there's already an abundance of native trees out there, mainly pine trees. So once that's cleared out, if the concern is going to be, you know, the privacy that you guys have or lack of shade, you guys don't need to worry about that. There's a lot of native trees out there. So this is another view of the lot, and, you know, it's beautiful. Common exotic invasive plants. The most common in Port St. Lucie, St. Lucie County as a whole, is these Brazilian pepper trees. They grow super fast. You trim them down, they shoot back up, you know, so definitely when we do clear these invasives out, we don't plan to just clear it and leave it. We want to make sure that we're actually going out there on a regular basis to maintain them. That way nothing is shooting back through. So, and that's going to be until, of course, we go through the design process and, you know, get some amenities out there, if that's what, you know, the neighborhood wants. Another common one that was found on the site is the air potato vine. It's an aggressive vine, and it can actually harm the native trees. A lot of these vines, they will strangle out the native trees. Kyle from Sampson over here is a certified arborist, and he can definitely speak to that more than I can. But exotic and invasive,
Sorry.
no worries, no worries. Exotic and invasive plants often crowd out native species, reducing habitat value and increasing maintenance cost. And clearing exotic plants will make room for the healthier native trees and plants, and it won't remove any valuable green space. It'll actually make the native trees out there more visible and create a healthier environment for them to grow. Some more common exotic invasive plants that are out there is a carrotwood, cat's claw vine, and an old world climbing fern. And again, Kyle can speak to all of those a little bit more than I can.
So the invasive vines, the invasive vines that are out there are some of the biggest concerns, especially after you do a removal of the invasive species in the area. You're going to be opening up new sunlight to the ground. Vines grow extremely fast compared to our native species, so they tend to overtake. That's another reason why there's to be maintenance taken care of out there on a rotation through the area. But the vines encapsulating the area do spread. Our birds, they eat them, they bring them to the yards and the surrounding communities. So not only removing them from the site is going to help remove them from the rest of the community to stop the propagation of everything. I know everybody's been in their yard and found a tree or something growing through their hedges, and it turns out to be a Brazilian pepper. A lot of the vines that are in the area, they do get transplanted through animals. They also get planted around the neighborhood because they do produce beautiful flowers. Not saying that it came from a specific property. This can happen generations ago. But the control of the invasives in this one is really key because it hasn't really encapsulated the existing canopies. It's nice to have a 3-tier canopy. You want an upper canopy of old growth, a lower mid canopy, which is usually your sables and your cabbage palms, and then below that your sable palmetto and your native grasses. That also promotes a healthier ecosystem. You're going to have your tortoises move back in from being disturbed from the neighborhood being built. You're going to have your squirrels. You're going to have your birds. Your native birds are going to be coming around more, but it's also going to give the sandhill cranes more native habitat. As we grow into a larger city, you kind of have to drive a long way to see native Florida. So I really am excited about these green spaces, kind of promoting a native Florida as possible, in the communities. And it really doesn't take a lot of work once you get an ecosystem balanced. It's very low maintenance. Just an occasional visit, and just to make sure everything's kind of working together. So, yes, ma'am.
I do have a question. There are some plants on that lot that are. Hi. There are some plants on that lot that are from others' yards that have been dumped on there, like the Sansevieria, and I noticed also, I think, a few poinciana trees.
Yes, ma'am.
Are those going to be removed as well?
If they're non-native, I don't want to speak for the city, but if they're non-native, I do believe they should be removed just to promote what is trying to be accomplished here, which is native Florida. So if you do have, poincianas, there's an invasive type of jacaranda that's out there. We do want to keep, our jacarandas in there. I think there's one or two that are growing.
Yes, I frequent the area quite a bit.
Okay.
I live right around the corner, but there is a very large area of Sansevieria growing, and a few of the Schefflera.
Is that on the east, southeast
That's on
side?
the southwest side.
Southwest side.
Yes, yes. I live on the southwest side.
Okay.
Just, things that people have, thrown, over the years that have come up from the rains during the summer and whatnot
Yeah.
that are not native,
Not native.
that a lot of people think are native.
There's there's a lot of things that happen in planting of.
I do understand.
Yeah,
I am
it's-
an agriculturalist
Okay.
myself.
That's perfect. I would love if everybody would promote native Florida. You would be very surprised how beautiful the community would be compared to bringing in these other species. I
Would
also
it-
worry about diseases that come in from other
This
species.
is true. Do we have any plan on planting any native species, such as maybe some Hamelia patens or?
I can't speak for the city at that time. I'm
Okay.
sure one of them can say it. I do know that there's enough native habitat in there, enough
yes.
hammock for it to propagate and spread on its own as long as the invasives are held at bay.
Right, okay.
Just to give everything a time to balance out.
Okay, understand. Thank you.
And just to follow up on that, we will probably have a little bit more money in the budget after we do this, so we could plan if needed. Our biggest worry was,
I was going to volunteer to give the Hamelia patens because I have them in my yard,
oh, okay,
that I will root the cuttings and give to you guys.
I know I don't mean to interrupt, but I know there's one thing. We're not going to be going in there with large mechanized equipment. We're going to be doing a
Thank
lot of
you.
it by hand. We do have some smaller remote controlled stuff that we can come through that's very low impactful to get into there. But the idea is to try to save a tree. We don't want to take it down to get the small invasive that's behind it. So
Roots have to come out.
the least amount of root disturbance as possible. So I don't have anything in there that we're going to propose to ever put in there to disturb the roots. The roots are extremely important, especially between each tree. You take out one, the other one will suffer. So we want to make sure to leave the roots intact as possible. So the equipment we're planning on using weighs about 3,500 pounds. Puts down about 2.7 pounds per square inch, so very light. You actually put more ground pressure with your feet.
Yes,
So,
yes, very good. I can't wait to see this get started.
okay.
Thank you.
Great. Well, definitely, City of Port St. Lucie is glad to hear that you guys are excited to see these projects get started. This is just another angle of the lot. Some more invasive removal that'll be happening to help actually preserve the native species that we have on the lot. And just to touch on a little bit with what Kyle was saying as well, we don't plan to go in there and disturb the habitat. We don't want the animals to run away. We want all the animals to stay in the lot. And if anything, we want to create a better environment for them to come back. So. And then lastly, on the 19th, Monday the 19th from 6 to 7, we're actually going to have an on-site meeting on the property. We would love for everybody who's attending on Zoom and people here inside the council chambers to be there. That way we can actually have Kyle walk through and show you guys everything that we do plan to remove and what we plan to preserve. And there is a survey at the end of this PowerPoint as well. If you guys have any other ideas or any feedback, even if that's regards to planting new species on the property as well, new native species to help bring all that up, just definitely put that in the survey. And we'll be working on the concepts soon, but we definitely encourage you guys' feedback. Thank you, guys.
do we have a question?
Good evening. Did you say you're going to leave the saw palmettos in place? Yeah? So I know there's a lot of people that go there and pick the fruits. Is that going to be allowed to do it, or? I don't do it, but some people do.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think we can really prevent people from picking it. We don't encourage it.
Yeah.
But we are not going to be there policing and telling people not to do it.
Okay.
As residents in the neighborhood, if you'd like to encourage people to leave it alone, we
Yeah.
certainly will stand behind you on that.
Yeah, definitely, because they use these big knives. I don't particularly like it.
Understandable. It could damage the plants and even some of the animals
it's
that might
kind
be
of
living
scary.
there.
I don't know if they're going to pick up a plant or do something else. I don't know.
Right.
This big knife, it's huge.
Yeah, well, I think a little education in that department will go a long way. So hopefully some other people will be attending next week, and we can provide information that you can share with neighbors, and maybe somehow we'll go through the grapevine to these people that are showing up with the giant machetes.
That's right. Thank you.
Great. We got some questions submitted to us. The first one, Zach, if you can clarify. The first is the city looking to develop the reserve area entirely or partially? We can start with this one, then I'll go on to the rest.
so is it to develop this site? So the intent really is to get in there and start removing those invasives and to, and maintain that. So like Kyle was saying, return it to a, natural Florida habitat. And we already noticed that there was trails there. We thought that was cool. We'd like to maintain that. We were concerned about, we had been concerned about the two houses that abut the green space. We wanted to make sure that there wasn't going to be a ton of things that needed to be removed and they would then be exposed and bare. But it doesn't seem like that's the case, so that's good. Beyond that, in terms of development, obviously if the residents wanted to see more, like a bench or two or something like that. Like I said, we did do concepts, the city did, last year for each of the green spaces that we own. And they had some kind of conceptual renderings done as to what a site could look like if the residents did want it to be developed. For example, if you said you wanted a sidewalk through the whole thing, or dog bags and benches and a art or a pull-up station or something, obviously if the neighborhood wanted those things, we would probably get together a budget for that. At a minimum, we want to go. I'm sorry, did you want the mic to say something? No. So yeah, at a minimum, we want to get in there, remove the invasives. If we could, more thoroughly define the trails that are in there, that would be cool too. Since there's already trails, seems like people are already using it in that way, and that's, we'll remove that lawnmower that's in there, and some of the other pieces of tires and garbage that we've noticed.
We're going to have trash bags there.
Trash bags.
Yeah, because people will throw soda pops. We do have to have trash bags there. Otherwise, people are going to, mainly the children, they're going to go and just start thrashing their popcorn, whatever, drinks, bottles. I picked up many on the side road already.
So maybe some trash cans would
Yeah.
be appropriate for the
That's
area. just to
definitely
keep
gonna
litter
need-
at bay.
Yes.
That's something we can definitely consider.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yep, and that would be one of those small amenities that get added.
Okay.
Great idea. And that opens the next question very smoothly. Who will maintain the area if there is already litter around the perimeter on the weekly basis? This resident is afraid that people will litter more in the area. So if you can address who's going to maintain the area.
So it's so Parks and Recreation is taking care of it. So once and just like we'll be maintaining after we clear the invasives, we'll be maintaining that regularly. It would be the same thing with trash too. We'll develop a plan to make sure it looks clean just like any other park.
Great, thank you. And just as a plug, for Natural PSL, we have this Adopt a Green Space program that is newly launched. So if residents are interested in adopting the green spaces and picking up the trash or picking up litters while you're walking around, this will be a great place to adopt and then help clean up the areas and yeah, that would be amazing. Great, awesome. I'll send you the application afterwards. Awesome. The next question is, do you think that kids from the area would become more likely to hang out at night? So essentially, safety questions. How can we make it safe for those who walk the dogs at night?
So it'll largely be the same as it is, especially since we're not developing it beyond what's already there. We're just cleaning out the interior. So I don't know if anyone's noticed any problems now with safety. So yeah, what we're talking about. Okay, and so yeah, it would function, I'm imagining, the same exact ways it does now, since we're not clearing large swaths or anything like that.
The neighborhood there is pretty heavy duty. If there is anything, they will take care of it.
Is that where those knives come in?
At least my two neighbors are pretty heavy duty people. They watch everybody's house, so we're going to be watching. It's right across from our house. So if there is anything going on, we're going to address it or tell you guys.
Yeah, you'd call us and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
So,
Anywhere there?
No, we're not talking about.
I
illuminating
think the
lights.
ambient lighting, once the place gets cleared off, will be,
yeah, once you,
We'll
once
make
you,
it
once
seem
you
more
open,
safe.
once you bring the vines down that are hanging high in the trees and it's not gonna be opened up as huge swaths, but you'd be surprised that actually natural Florida, you can walk through it. The natural light will reflect backwards from the palmettos, so if you have a nice moon,
Yes.
it will be more visible than you think. For the trail widening a little bit, enough for two people to walk comfortably next to each other. It will be naturally defined because it's mostly sand right there, and you'll just see some pine needles. So, I mean, it will be brighter than what most people think. And for trash, usually people are dumping trash where they can be hidden. So if they feel like there's somebody watching them, they're usually not going to pick that spot. So,
I lived there for 15 years, and I know for a fact there is hawks' nests. They've been there forever. I don't know if it is the same bird, but it's hawks. Are you guys going to maintain that, or?
we are going to
Be
make
there
sure we have
forever.
no native wildlife or any wildlife at all. I mean, non-native animals.
Yeah.
We don't want to harm any animals. That's why we're going in there by hand as much as
I worry about that. When you came to my house, both of you, I was worried about the birds.
Well, they're a very large consideration, but also their habitat is getting eaten up by these invasives.
Correct.
So eventually,
consider
they're going to be
that.
overtaken and they're going to move away
I planted a lot of trees just for them, but
just for them. So
yeah.
it is largely a very good thing for the native wildlife to be in there.
Right.
They balance the ecosystem.
Yeah.
But if there's one thing out of place, which is the invasives, the vines that start to take over. Speaking about the palmetto berries and the palmettos, there's a very large tortoise habitat that's in there. And for the pickers, I mean, it's just, they're more open. So they're usually not going to want to be there anyways.
Right.
There
Thank
are
you so much.
regulations in that.
Thank you for doing all this.
Oh, yes.
Thank you for the question as well. The next one is going to be about the wildlife. So what will happen to all the wildlife if any one of you can address?
I think we kind of addressed that a little bit, and we did speak with a neighbor who is living just behind the lot, and she expressed that there's foxes, birds, there was a bobcat, I believe. And so she had expressed some concerns about that. And as Kyle has mentioned, our goal here is to maintain as natural a space as possible and to disturb them as little as we possibly can. And as he mentioned, we will be removing the invasives, which will provide a better ecosystem for all of the animals there. So we will do everything in our power to make sure they remain undisturbed. And as he mentioned, the tortoises that are there, we will be leaving the palms that are down low. I forget the name of them, the cabbage palms? Okay, sable palmetto, and that's their natural habitat. So we will be touching very few as possible. I know there's a few that will have to be removed to get to some of the other larger invasive trees that will be removed, but very few will be touched.
Thank you. I got one more on that one. Go ahead.
So for the tortoises and the gray foxes that people have been seeing, so gray foxes are great. They keep down on our rat population, they keep down on everything, but foxes usually make their dens in old tortoise burrows. So that's another reason why we want to keep the tortoises in there. Tortoises don't like vines. They catch their shells, they'll stop using that path. They'll use another path. Eventually they'll move because they don't want to be harassed, so they don't know that it's just something catching their shell. So for the wildlife, I mean, we work around them all the time in the city. We do respect them. We do stay away from them. If we do find an animal, say we find a gray fox nesting, we won't touch it that day. We'll come back and see if he's moved. That way we're not disturbing the wildlife. We have zero tolerance on disturbing wildlife in its native habitat. So, and for the birds, all nests will stay. So if there's a dead limb, we do bring up the attention. It is habitat in a native environment. So as long as that we've brought the risk or the attention to of a concern, and then we try to take it from there properly.
Thank you. There's a question that's here. It's about the golf cart and ATVs that might be riding on the property there through the trail. Wondering if there are ways that we can address that.
Yeah, well, part of this discussion too will be signage, so we might have to address it with that, because it's not going to be meant for golf carts or motorized scooters or bikes to ride through the green space. Yeah.
Are there ways to, at the entrance of the trail to, I don't know if that's a common practice to have barriers, so they, you know how you keep cars away from entering a certain path? Is that something that's possible with ATVs?
Like bollards?
Yeah, essentially. Like, is it possible?
We hadn't really discussed that, but it's maybe something we could consider. We want to keep it as natural as possible, so.
Yeah.
I mean, our goal when we go in is not to open it up that wide, to try to have the native species keep those kind of vehicles out of there. Not going to be possible everywhere, but you know, the idea is that it's natural, so that the trails won't always stay the same width. They won't all stay the same depth. We just want to make sure that it's inviting for nature and to walk, and not really inviting to bring your four-wheeler or golf cart through. You can park that out front.
So yeah, you could use wooden bollards, I suppose, or you could use split rail fence in a strategic way to, you know, make an opening that just, you know, one or two people could walk through at once, and that way a golf cart can't. So those are things we can do.
I think we're also hopeful that there'll be a lot more involvement in people using the space a lot more, which will deter people from bringing things like that. So it's a community effort. So while we understand the concerns, I think together we can all help prevent those types of things that are unwanted.
Thank you. I think there's one last question here. I think it's relevant. It's a question about fire hazard. Does this area have any fire hazard, as we know?
No, there's not an excessive amount of underbrush that is dead or laying. Everything in there is very healthy and very green. So there's not a lot of, I'm going to say, surface area for a fire to even start. If there was one on the ground, it wouldn't have any fuel to travel upwards. It'd be just a smoldering event.
There's a lot of people walking big, large dogs, lots of them. I see like 10 a day. Yeah, sometimes 3 dogs. I'm not one of them. But is it possible to put like pick up after your dog when they, you know, they go their necessities? I don't know how else to say that.
Yeah, one of the other small amenities could be the dog bags, you know, with the little trash bin.
That's important, because
Yeah.
otherwise it's going to be a mess, because they don't pick it up. I tell you this. What? Yeah, but most people don't, so.
I just want to add, these are all great things that, definitely we spoke about inside the meeting. Please put them in the survey. If you guys have any other ideas, just.
biggest concern is dirt and trash and dog poop.
No, understood. You want to keep your neighborhood clean, and just in closing, I just want to say that, we do want to work with you guys to make this property uniquely yours. We want all the input that you guys can provide to guide us to make this what you guys want it to be. And other cool thing about this specific property is that this is going to be the first in our green space initiative. So you guys get to set the ball high, the bar really high, and set the example for what we're going to do in the future. So definitely, any ideas that you guys have, please put them in the survey. And just thank you guys for participating. We appreciate it.
Yep, and you should be able to scan this QR code with your phone if you're in the audience, and if you're online, you can probably click on it, I imagine, to take it. The one on the letter, I believe, was to sign up for the Zoom tonight, and this is the one for the survey.
And viewers at home
And
should
Avi,
be-
they just click on the one, if they're on Zoom, they can click
I think they can scan it, right?
into the chat, maybe.
Is this going to be on the website as well, Avi? Awesome.
And I just want to add one thing. If you have friends in the neighborhood that were unaware of this or were unable to attend tonight, if you could please share the survey with them, that would be very helpful.
Yep, and then remember, next Monday, May 19th, at 6 o'clock, we'll be on site, so we can walk through the green space together. If anyone wants to, see exactly what may be removed.
Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to attend.
Oh,
Our daughter is moving to Minnesota that day. She has to go to the airport at the time of y'all's in-person meeting.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you.